Hi everyone, welcome to the first of a series on how to turn Project Life cards or pocket cards into embellishments. If you're like me, you probably also have a ton of Project Life cards. I got several large kits from a couple of Tuesday mornings when they were closing in my area. So I picked my favorites and I got a bunch. I definitely had plans to use them because I still like to document my day to day with Pocket Pages. But if you're familiar with the kits, there are so many in one kit. Probably plenty for multiple years worth of albums. So I pulled one of those kits today and decided that I was going to use this one for my 2021 Project Life albums. And I knew I'm not going to use them all. I wanted to make matching embellishments. And the best way to go about it is to just make them straight from the cards themselves. For each design, you have definitely 5 to 6, I feel like, versions of each. I have used this kit already, so there are several iterations that are missing, but I have plenty of extras to spare, and I definitely will be able to match them up with the other cards when I'm done making these embellishments. So when I go through these, I check both sides because there's lots of different designs, and they're also different formats. Some are just a word, and the other side is the grid where you can do all your writing. So you just have to check both sides to see what the designs are, if you need to take 2 out of the pile or just 1, depending upon what you want to do. When I'm looking for cards, I like to choose anything with big words or icons. And when I mean icons, it tends to be like different shapes, whether it's a heart or a star. But I also prefer them having a definitive outline because it just makes it easier to cut. And once I've pulled out all the ones I want, I divide them into different groups. The way I would categorize them would be based on what the design would be on the card. So in this instance, for this specific video, I'll be sharing with you guys any ones that have big words, because those big words can be used all over your Project Life, on top of photos. Sometimes when it's on just a 4x6 card, I kind of feel that the photos would cover it up, whether it's a smaller photo on top of it or even a 4x6. All you'll see is the edges of the card, and obviously there's really nice designs on them, so anything that's big with words, I always like to select those and cut those out. Of course, there's small words, and then there's bigger icons, smaller icons, and sometimes there's also nothing on the card where there's just a grid and a colored pattern. Now that I have mine in their different piles, I'm just going to start fussy cutting a lot of the shapes that I want to use for my embellishments. You technically don't have to split them into piles. It was just easier for me to focus on one kind of cutting based on whether they're words or icons. When I cut, I tend to leave a little border around the shapes. If you look closely, you'll see I leave a tiny border around everything I'm fussy cutting, whether it's a word, or in this instance, it's love and a heart, so I cut around it as well. I don't mind that there's like a tiny border on part of the image. No one notices after you start putting embellishments together. When I cut these out, I also think about how I intend to use them. For this video, I'll show you guys the end result of having big word cutouts, but a lot of these pieces will end up in future videos where I show you how you can make other types of layered embellishments. The smaller ones are the ones that will tend to be for smaller embellishments, and then the big words you can make into banners, you can make into large word die cuts, and that works just the same. I've actually sped up this process significantly because it actually took me hours in one day to actually cut these all out. I even ended up pulling some muscle in my hand from holding the scissors for so long. So basically, I sat myself in front of my computer and watched a movie as I cut these out. As I'm cutting these out, I'm also thinking about how I can preserve as much as I can of the remaining card, because those pieces will definitely not be going into the garbage. I use them for other aspects of the embellishment making. I try to keep as big as a piece of the leftover pieces. You'll see I have these giant 3x4 cards that are almost intact. I just cut around the word or the icon because those big pieces will give me a lot more freedom to make other types of embellishments with them. This cutting part and preparation part in making embellishments is probably the most time consuming aspect of it, but for me personally, it's worth the value. You get so many cards in this giant kit that it's definitely better to make the cards beyond what they already are and really use them to its full potential so that you can match your kit altogether and not have to buy additional embellishments because you technically can make them yourself. A lot of my large word die cuts are coming from the 4x6 cards. Like I mentioned earlier, when you use these cards, obviously you can use them like a title card, but I tend to also use them to back some of my larger photos that I cut down. And once you back them, you no longer see the pretty word designs. So I definitely want to use the designs that have come part of the kit on top of my photos. And it just depends on what my photos look like and how they're positioned. And potentially there is an opportunity for me to just put a large word die cut over it and it'll be embellished already 50% of the way. The word is such a large surface. So that is a walkthrough on my thought process, reasons why I get the larger kits, and how I get the most out of them. You'll see that you can make many die cuts from just a fraction of the cards in the kit. As I mentioned, this is the first of a series that I have put together. There's about 4 more on other types of embellishments I make from the leftover pieces after doing all the fussy cutting. If you like this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe so you don't miss the next few videos on how to make more of your own embellishments. And I hope everyone has a great day.